Got a lot of fortunate news as Clemson has earned a much better seed, or at least a little bit better seed than expected. And also, this is our first video that is officially sponsored actually by a book and pair of authors. It's called Kingdom of the Infinity Realm, Respian Man. I'll tell you more about that at the end of this video. But first, let's talk about Clemson. Earned a 6th seed. All of the bracketology had them either as a 7 or an 8 after losing 3 of their last 4, including a blowout loss in Washington, D.C. against Boston College. So really bad way to end the year, and seemed like they could drop. I was even seeing worst case scenario dropping to an 8, getting to play a tough 9, like maybe a Michigan State. And then even if you win that, you play a 1 seed. So really no shot of a Sweet 16 run. And so to see a 6 seed is great news. Now, I will counter that and say, New Mexico is by far the toughest of the 11 seeds that a 6 seed will play. They're 23rd in KenPom. The other 11 seeds are Oregon, who is 55th, and they play South Carolina. NC State, who got in as a conference champion, they're 58th, and they play Texas Tech. And Duquesne, who's all the way down at 86th, and they will play BYU. So a little unlucky there, but to avoid a 7 and even more importantly, avoid getting that 8, I thought was very fortunate. It's consistent with last year. I got to give the committee a lot of credit. I thought it was outrageous how much emphasis they put on the non-conference portion of the schedule, almost like they treat them like they're each half of the schedule almost, even though conference play is now 20 games for the ACC plus the tournament. But it almost seems like they weigh to the half that amount for non-conference play. It's like they're weighting it equal as if they're 50-50. And so Clemson got crushed last year for scheduling a weak non-con and losing to Loyola Chicago and South Carolina, who last year was really bad. But this year, I find that strange. They put so much weight on those early season non-con games. Perhaps it would be better if non-conference was interspersed throughout the year. I understand that could be difficult, but at least they're consistent, because this year we got a ton of credit for beating Alabama, who's a 4 seed, South Carolina, who they were terrible last year, but this year they were very good. They're a 6 seed, and TCU, who's a 9 seed, beat all of them in non-con. And so despite the poor finish, I think it was about 10-10 over the last 20, and obviously just 1-4 in those last 4, including the worst game of the year, a blowout to Boston College in tournament play in the first postseason game. Despite that, still managed to get a 6 seed. So definitely feeling pretty good about that. If they win, they'll play Baylor. Baylor's good, but I think there were some 3 seeds who you'd be more wary of, I guess I'd say. Illinois, Creighton, to name 2, and then obviously Kentucky. I know that they're a little lower in KenPom. They're 19 in KenPom, whereas Baylor's 14. But I think maybe it's name brand, but I'd be a little bit more concerned about Kentucky as well. So obviously, all the 3 seeds are good, but Baylor's probably the one I'm least scared of. But let's talk about New Mexico. So this is not New Mexico State, who Clemson beat in that 2018 tournament when they went to the Sweet 16. This is New Mexico. They're in the Mountain West. They were 26-9, 10-8 regular season, and then they won 4 straight games in the Mountain West Conference tournament to take the automatic bid for the conference. Those wins came over they were the 6th seed in that tournament, and they beat the 11 seed Air Force in a blowout. Then they beat 3 seed Boise State, who Clemson also beat in the non-con. Clemson got credit for that too. Another quality win. Boise State's a 10 seed in a playing game, so another non-con win over an NCAA tournament team. Then they beat New Mexico. Then they beat Colorado State, followed by San Diego State, who was the 5 seed in the tournament. So impressive run for sure. Mountain West Conference is pretty good. I'm not sure I buy it as much as the committee does. The committee gave them 6 bids, so 6 bid conference, which is quite impressive. Before this Mountain West Conference tournament run, where they beat 3 tournament teams, they were 5-6 against top 50 teams per KenPom. Now they won 3 in the tournaments. Now they're 8-6. But Clemson 7-3 against teams in the KenPom top 50. So when Clemson has too many letdown games, too many games like losing at home to Georgia Tech, losing in DC to Boston College. NC State got hot. That doesn't look as bad now, but too many games like that. However, when they play top competition, they're pretty good. And so that's definitely got to make you feel better. Clemson is 34 in Ken Palm. New Mexico is 23 in Ken Palm. So Ken Palm's going to favor them, obviously, giving New Mexico a 55% chance to win the game. But Clemson 21 and 11, 11 and 9 in conference, 11 and 10 if you count the tournament loss. Interesting stat here. Joe Girard has 17 straight games with multiple 3-point makes. He's got to make some threes. He's going to be a key. He's a veteran guard. And really, it's not just him, but it's also Chase Hunter. Chase Hunter has been one of the most up and down players on the team. When he is on, he's excellent. He's a good defender. He can attack the basket like no one else on this team can. When he's on, this is a Sweet 16 team. When he's not, this is going to be hard to win this game, right? So I think Chase Hunter is really critical, and Joe Girard knocking down more than just 2, maybe 3 or 4 3-pointers makes a huge difference. Girard is just so much fun to watch. And, we're only going to watch him 1 or 2 more games, maybe 3 if we're lucky. So enjoy it, right? He has been a pleasure to watch, a home run as a transfer. Interesting similarity. Clemson finished this year with a thud, but that 2018 team, they finished 23 and 9, 11 and 7, 1-1 in the tournament, ACC tournament. They finished that season 3 and 5 in their final 8 before winning 2 games in the NCAA tournament and really pushing Kansas. This year's team, 4 and 4 in the final 8 and 1 and 3 over the last 4 games. So some similarities there. They're also Clemson back in 2018. They beat New Mexico State, and then they beat number 23 ranked in Ken Palm Auburn. They'll start off with number 23 ranked New Mexico this time. So a lot of similarities there. Coming into this tournament, hours ago, as I record this, I was really down on Clemson. It just felt like another flame out type year. Clemson's been bad in the postseason pretty much all of the Brownell tenure. Never strung together multiple ACC tournament wins. And then you see them get blown out against a low seed in Boston College. Even when they make the NIT, they're losing to teams like Oakland and Morehead State and so on. So easy to get negative, but to manage to still hang on to a 6 seed was very fortunate. And I think it breathes a lot of life into what they can do. And I hope it breathes a lot of life into this fan base. I've already seen articles, frankly, well-written articles that make good points about how, if they don't do something in this tournament, it's time to move on from Brownell. I'll hold judgment until after we see what happens here. But I do think this is a really big game for the program. I think Neff needs to be watching this closely. I'll hold judgment. I think if you win tournament games, that's the goal that we set forth. And I know it was ugly at times and we lost hope at times, but if they accomplish the goal, get advanced in March, that's what we're looking for. So I think it's very possible. So I hope you're optimistic about it. It's Friday afternoon game. So hopefully you can cut out of work early. Hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. It's really been growing. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed. And if you haven't, be sure to like this video. Before I get out of here, I do want to talk about our sponsors. So thank you to Mark and Sarah Kadashnikov, our first sponsor of this channel. They are the authors of Respian Man, which is the first book in the Kingdom of the Infinity Realm series. It just dropped a couple weeks ago. I had the pleasure of reading it. It's a fun book. Their first one that they've written, and they go into great detail, but not laborious detail, just enough to really paint the picture as well. I'll tell you the synopsis here is it's a fantasy adventure book that follows a young man with multiple sclerosis as he stumbles into a strange new world where he is mistaken for a military officer and must play the part to survive. There's a lot of different kind of story arcs going on at the same time, but it's pretty easy to follow. I thought it was well done and fast paced. It's about 420 pages. It's dropping on, or just dropped as I record this, like hours ago on the Kindle. And I'll put the Amazon page and their website so you can read more about it in the YouTube description. So check that out. Definitely give them a look because they are our first sponsor and we really appreciate them. So check that out. And as always, thanks for watching and go Tigers.